Who want one last trip to the long trail?
I don't think there's ever been a Tekken tier list as bizarre as the one we're about to discuss in today's video. Going through the process of trying to analyze the characters of Tekken and who suffered worse in their story, and also comparing that to one another, was a strange process. This tier list can be done in so many different ways, and going into this, my idea for true suffering was a few things. One is physical suffering, right? You lose an eyeball, you get like some crazy experiments done on you. Is then also mental suffering. How much mental trauma are you dealing with on a daily basis? And then another thing that I added into this is also losing someone. A lot of characters in Tekken lost someone close to them. It was very odd comparing the weight of that loss. How bad does it feel to lose a relative versus a friend versus a master? These are the kind of things I was trying to factor when making this tier list. So starting off with characters that are having their best life. Akuma and Fang, they live to fight tough opponents. So that's what they're doing. They're going around stomping people out and they're having a blast doing it. Even though they may lose a fight or they may struggle here and there, that is what they signed up for. And then also Lucky Chloe is a strange character. We don't know too much about her life. We know that she was very into like anime and pop and stuff like that. And then she rose up and became a superstar. We don't know how difficult the journey was through that, but in Tekken 7, we can see she loves being Lucky Chloe. She walks around in her outfit, she bullies everyone, she relishes in her position. Bob, this is a character, he's kind of the opposite of Fang and Akuma, where they go around and looking for a fight. He goes around stopping fights, playing hero. In Tekken 8, he has his own food chain. Yeah, he may have like one or two things that happen, but from what I know, he lives a great life. Panda is a character who you could definitely say lives the best life out of any Tekken character. Panda lives a beautiful life. Brian Ferry was a tough one because this guy is a maniac. He is a psychopath and he loves causing destruction. But Brian Ferry is one of the few characters in Tekken who also died. It's really hard to say what kind of like happiness he's dealing with, but in terms of suffering, since this is a quote-unquote suffering, I probably would raise him up because he suffered a lot and maybe all of the mental stuff is because of that. In the one category, Zhao Yu, the reason why she isn't in living her best life is because a lot of the negativity revolves around Jin. She wants Jin to be like, you know, boyfriend, and then also she wants to save him. That is something that like weighs on the mind and something she's dealing with, but it's no way in comparison to what the other characters are dealing with, right? Kunimitsu, we don't know that much about her, but she is definitely having a blast being a mercenary. The reason why I didn't put her in best life is because we know she's also dealing with the trauma of what's going on with her mother. Her mother is sick, laying in bed and dying. You could honestly raise her up a little bit because I would assume having your mom in that condition is not something light, you know. Kuma, I was tempted to put Kuma down in best life, but there is some things that Kuma deals with, like one, rejection from Panda, and then two, just like Mishima Zaibatsu stuff. Dragunov, Master Raven, and Lei, I have these three characters very low because they are soldiers and they really haven't like lost anything. Number two, you have Marduk. This is where it gets controversial. Well, it's all controversial, but this is where it gets really crazy. Marduk, I feel like he dealt with some stuff, but once again, I don't feel like it's anything out of the extraordinary. Marduk really hasn't received any of the stuff he dealt out to other characters. Lita, she is a Polish prime minister. She did kind of go through a lot actually. Her grandfather died. She was hit in the face with like helicopter debris. Yeah, I gotta move her up. She kind of deals with a lot. She's not your typical prime minister, and that's exactly why she was chosen to lead, because people resonated with her story and everything she went through. The I don't know section. Alyssa, I also don't know where to put her. She was created in a laboratory. The trauma factor, you really can't weigh it so much with her. Law, I just don't know his story too much. We know a lot about Claudio, but we don't really know like what he's been through. And the same thing with Eliza. The trauma for those characters is kind of unknown. Let's move up a tier. Now we're in level 3. This is when it starts getting crazy, bro. Level 3, it's so difficult to judge and compare all of these things to one another. Lily is a character that was kidnapped, I believe, at like 11 years old, and that probably traumatized her in ways that I can't even imagine. So it's hard to say where she really falls on this list because I just don't know. Lars, it's crazy to try to think of everything he had to go through. We really don't know, so I just left him at 3. Would you guys say Paul Phoenix is a character who suffered? I think that would be interesting to see what you guys' thoughts are on that. I couldn't answer the question. Putting him too high discredit what the other characters go through, and then putting him low discredit what he went through. That's the thing about Paul Phoenix. He is a character who's been in every single game, so he went through the most that we can see. A lot of the other characters we don't know, but for Paul Phoenix, we know exactly what happened to him. You guys are going to be so upset with like Baek Doosan, Wang, Bogdanovich, Paul Phoenix, but this is really a hard tier list to do. But I feel like these characters, they dealt with a lot in their lives, but in comparison to the others, I couldn't put them higher than this. If I did, they would be up 1 tier, so it's pretty much the same thing. Yoshimitsu was betrayed by his own second in command. Kunimitsu was the second in command of the Maji clan, and she betrayed him. Also, he lost his friend Dr. Bogdanovich, and then also every single thing that Brian Fury does, Yoshimitsu is at fault for. And number 4, the whole entire row of number 4 is filled with characters who lost someone very close to them. King lost his mentor and like his role model, the original King. Eddie and Christine lost their master. Asuka lost her master. Lita lost her grandparent and I think her father as well. Armor King lost the original Armor King. Miguel lost a sister. Julia lost a mother. Leo, mother. Katarina, father. These are all characters who just lost something crucial to them. And honestly, you can say that Heihachi is the leader of the pack when it comes to number 4 and suffering, because out of all of these characters who lost someone very, very close to them, Heihachi is the only one who had to kill them with his own bare hands. In Tekken 7, Heihachi started crying. He shedded a tear. He's the only one who's actually had to do it himself. Number 5, these are characters who I felt like not only did they lose something, but they were also done so dirty. Like Bruce, he can't remember who he is, and now he's like buddied up with Kazuya, and Kazuya is basically like leading him down this dark path because of his skill, his talent. All kind of crazy stuff happened to Bruce even before he met Kazuya. Lei Xiaolan is a character who I would assume suffered a lot because Heihachi adopted him with the sole purpose of using him to make Kazuya better. If you're not the son that I want you to be, Lei will be. And that must be soul crushing to be used like that. Fakaram is a character who lost a lot as well. This guy is a prisoner. His family is in some kind of like danger. We know blackmail is involved. Whoever captured him is forcing him. They're dropping him out of a helicopter to fight people. He constantly asks how many fights left until something. I don't know if he's asking about his freedom or maybe the freedom of his family. This guy suffers a lot. Leroy Smith is another character who suffered quite a bit. He lost his whole entire family. He lost his whole entire neighborhood. And he also was partially blinded by the incident. He had to abandon his home and then leave and go train and then come back and try to make, the place better. His story is so great that they have his statue in Times Square of New York City. That's how you can see how, much of an impact or how much of an uphill battle that was. He literally was chased out, partially blind, and he had no one to depend on. Harang, I don't know why I have this guy Harang so high up. I gotta move Harang down. This is insulting to every character underneath him. I'll put Harang next to Paul Phoenix. Yes, he lost an eyeball. Yes, he, deals with Jin. He deals with Baek Doosan. There's a lot you can say about Harang as well, but I still don't think it's as crucial or critical as anything above in 4 or 5. Let's get to the top. The characters who I think suffered the most. Anna was forced into, the cryo sleep. Her ovaries was taken. They used that to create Steve Fox. Who knows what else crazy things was done to her in that time period. And the reason why I have Anna way up here too is because maybe Anna shouldn't be up there. The reason why I have actually I'll leave Anna here because Anna, she lost her husband. Nina killed her in Tekken 7, but also Nina gets a bad rap for being the evil sister, but really it's Nina. Anna wants to be friends with her sister. She tries to forgive her and love her, and Nina always shuts her down. I think Nina goes through a lot. Maybe this isn't right to put her way up there. I could drop her down a little bit, but I think Nina definitely goes through a lot as well. Steve Fox, this guy created in a laboratory. We see in Tekken Tag Tournament 2 and Tekken 7 all of the experiments he goes through. Same thing with Gigas, this guy kidnapped. This guy was worked on. You can see in Tekken 7 the mental damage that is done to him. This guy is a full mechanized soldier who is used as like a weapon. By far, I think one of the craziest things to happen. This is a fate worse than death. Also take into account that he was taken away from his daughter, Katarina. Katarina joins the tournament to find him. And what happens? He gets sicked on her like a dog. They use all of the technology that they forced into him to make him attack his own daughter. Remember when I said Heihachi's different from all the other characters is because he had to do it himself. Gigas is the same thing because he was forced to try and hurt someone that he loves. You can see how mentally draining that is on him as a character. Jinpachi is a character who I would say had it the worst. Jinpachi was possessed by a demon in Tekken 5. First off, the Mishima Zaibatsu was ripped under him from his own son, betrayed, stabbed in the back, and then his son put him in the basement with a boulder on top of his head, and he just left him there. That is crazy. But then he gets possessed by a demon. Jinpachi has to set up a tournament so he can die because that's how much the demon is like hurting him, like haunting him. The story of Jinpachi is definitely a tragic one. Zafina also is a character who is dealing with demons and, psychological warfare. And it's also not her own doing. She was trying to keep Jin out of the temple, but Jin just had to go in and he just had to try to save the day. And she was left to pick up the pieces. She had to absorb this demon in her hand, and now that demon is trying to take over her body. And in the story, Zafina says herself that time is short and she has to find help. She is looking for Claudio, and if she doesn't find him, it's over. The amount of stress there has to be insane. Jun Kazama is another character who suffered the worst. The one thing about Jun Kazama is she kind of caused some of her suffering herself. She went to stop Kazuya knowing how evil he was, and then she somehow fell in love with him and had a baby. That is not something that she should have done, and you kind of could say she pays the price for it. But this is where I would say it's completely out of her hands and why she is one of the characters who suffered the most. Ogre shows up and rips her away from her family. Also, she had to deal with the death of Kazuya, by the way. But Ogre rips her away from Jin. Jin goes on a psychopath rampage, causes World War III. You have to know that this is not something she wanted for Jin. That alone hurts. But also, who knows what she's going through all that time leading up to Tekken 8. It will be explained, but you just have to wonder. Ogre, unknown, demons, it's so much there that I think she should be given the title of one of the worst characters, or one of the characters who suffered the most. Kazumi is kind of the same thing, but to a lesser extent. You have to talk about the Hydro clan, the demons, the Devil Gene possessing her, turning her on Heihachi. I think she's another character who went through a lot. Kazuya, this guy was kicked off a cliff by Heihachi. When Heihachi did raise him, he did the worst he possibly can. We talked about Lei Shaolan and how he was used against him. This guy's been through so much. I really don't need to say much about Kazuya. Well, actually, the final thing that I'll say about Kazuya, and this is kind of what sparked this discussion. On a live stream, we were talking about Kazuya. In Tekken 7, Kazuya learns a bombshell. He learns Kazumi wanted him dead. That's why Akuma is after him. He knows Jin wants him dead. Heihachi wants him dead. Jinpachi wants him dead. Kazuya knows that everyone wants him dead. And it's really not his fault. Heihachi caused everything that happened to Kazuya, and also Jin. Let's talk about him. Jin Kazama is a character who suffered a lot. I really don't think we need to say. Lost his mother. Heihachi used him for the Devil Gene and tried to betray him and stab him in the back. Literally shot him, right? Jin also suffered a lot. You also have to keep in mind for Jin Kazama, He is 21 years old. The fate of the world is placed on the shoulders of a kid possessed by a devil. This tier list can be done in so many different ways, and there really is no correct or wrong answer here. I just want to try to go through this and explain all of it. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. I had a really fun time putting this together and thinking about the characters in this new way, and hopefully you guys did as well. I'll see you in the next video, and bye bye.